Hi, I'm Preston Williams, and welcome to another edition of Jazz Talk. Today on our show, we have with us one of the most accomplished pianists today. This lady has been on the scene for over 50 years and has worked with many greats from Dexter Gordon to George Benson, Woody Shaw, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, Stan Getz, and Joe Henderson, to name a few. She is a pianist, composer, educator, and a 2018 NEA Jazz Master. Please welcome to Jazz Talk the legendary Miss Joanne Brackeen. How are you?
I am great. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you so much for coming on. Joanne, as I said, you've been on the scene for, oh gosh, such a long time, and you've worked with many great musicians throughout your illustrious career. But I'm interested in knowing more about your humble beginnings. I understand that you're from Ventura, California. Tell us about your upbringing and how you got involved in music.
Well, I recently got from my sister's, one of her daughters, my niece, a picture. And I remember that day.
Oh, wow.
I was six, and my sister was 8. I had a twin brother who was also 6. So at that time, suddenly in our house, and my sister and I cannot ID what happened, we got a grand piano. We had a grand piano in this house that we lived in. 110 Eugenia Drive, Ventura, California. But they've changed the address numbers now. The whole street changed numbers, so we don't know what it is. And so we had this piano, and I don't know how it got there or when it got there. And it was there. And I just remember sitting down at the piano, looking at all the keys, playing a few, and saying, oh, this would be really easy. I mean, you start here, all the notes go up, and you go down there, they all go down. Right. I can do anything with this. I didn't need a plan, a book, nothing. And I just remember thinking that. And then we actually moved to another house. We moved many, many times. I think by the time I was 18, it was like 21 houses or something.
Wow.
So then we moved to another house, and I had a small and upright piano. And so the family used to like to go out shopping to Macy's or whatever, or buy groceries. And I love to stay home. Don't know why. I like to stay in my house. Right. So one time I was there, they had a record player. And I saw they had 2 recordings that were kind of like jazz. And one was Carmen Cavallero and one was Frankie Carl. So I liked the way Frankie Carl played better than Carmen, but I loved the tunes that Carmen Cavallero played. You're the Cream of My Coffee, these old tunes. And the album that I had of Frankie Carl was Frankie Carl and his girlfriends. Yeah. Had Charmaine, Louise, Diane, a lot of good tunes on there. So I thought, sitting down to the piano, I just got the idea, oh, I can listen to the piano. And I had taken lessons for about 6 months. And I mean, I just took them because my sister took them, and I hated them because all you did was sit there and learn do da 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 da. That was it. The next one was the same thing in another. It was crazy because that isn't the kind of music that I heard over the radio at the friend's house across the street. Right. Yeah. So I thought, oh, I know what I could do. I could just write down, because I remembered the lines and the spaces in both the clefs. So I just took the record and wrote down every note I heard. Wow. Which was copying the entire thing, both hands. And then I could play.
That's incredible, even
so
hearing
I did it. And then I did it to about 7 or 8 tunes. So I had the whole range from, I even had Hindustan, which went really fast with stride piano. Right. Well, in a small town, you don't know what you're supposed to know. And that's all I had access to. So
you're basically a child prodigy. I mean, that's incredible.
I was, yeah. Because at school, then I started playing in the school assemblies. And then I got in because of my sister had a friend that was playing in high school. I was just like, it went through 7th through 10th grade. She was in 10th grade and she didn't have enough time to be in the jazz band. And although you had to be 14 or 15 to be in the jazz band, and I'm only 12, but I was really tall. And I think the two things together, the fact I could play
Yeah.
and I could look like the rest of the people in the band. So that band was professional band. We played all Glenn Miller arrangements. We got paid $10 a night, which is equal to today's $108 for just playing one night. So there I am.
That's incredible. And I understand what by the time you were 12, you were playing professionally.
That's what I'm talking about. I was 12.
That literally
I
blows
learned how to play. I learned how to play at 11. So I mean, you don't think anything about it till you get older, maybe, and look back.
Yeah.
You just do what you do. And I did it because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to play what I had heard when I was 9. I thought that's what the teacher was going to teach me. So I was, it was like a pull. I really want this. And I'm not going to get it from anybody else. So.
Oh, you have a great ear. And also, one of the things that was fascinating to me, by the time I guess you were in your mid-teens, you played with Dexter Gordon. That's crazy. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was 19. Well, actually, the job was Teddy Edwards. He was a famous tenor player in the LA area. And the rhythm section was incredible. Frank Butler and George Morrow. If you lived in that time, those were the best people in the city. There were a lot of good people, but that's what was happening. Although we also had Billy Higgins.
Oh, great drummer. Yeah.
And I knew about him too. And later on, our family moved again. We moved near him. So we used to drive. I had a car. And he had all the music to play on the way in. We listened to Monk and everything.
Oh, wow.
So that was fun. Anyway, that was with Dexter Gordon. And they had a Christmas show in December. And it featured Dexter Gordon with our group. It was with Teddy too, as I'm remembering. And the comedian between sets was Red Fox. This was at a club called the Zebra Lounge. I think it was 85th and not too far from Manchester on the east side.
I tell you, Joanne, that's funny because you just made me think of something when you said Red Fox, of course, Sanford and Son, but people don't know the real Red Fox. Some of his records. Oh boy, some of the stuff that.
Well, all of that came later. This guy was just a comedian working at jazz clubs.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And so during that time, I mean, what was it like playing with someone like Dexter Gordon at such a young age? And what did you learn from playing with a giant like that?
Well, when you're playing, you're just listening. You need to, the point of view has to be 4 or 5 points of view. And that's, that keeps you busy and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And also, I guess you're honing your skills. You're playing with different people. Now, I think one time I heard you tell a story, I guess maybe later on, that Ornette Coleman knew about you or had heard about you.
Well, it wasn't until he was in his 80s I really believed what he said. He said, I met you when you were 17.
Wow.
And so I thought, I remember I went with my boyfriend one time to a club. And he said, oh, there's Ornette Coleman. And he has a plastic saxophone. I remember that. I don't remember meeting him. I don't remember him meeting me. But when he was 82 and sitting here in this chair looking out the window, he said, yes, I knew you from there. And you were with your boyfriend who was very tall.
Wow.
So when he said that, I said, okay, I believe it.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
But I didn't really hear his music until Paul Bley got a band that played in this era. and it had Billy Higgins, Don Cherry, and Charlie Hayden.
Yeah.
So I knew all of them, because Ornette had rehearsals and things.
Yeah.
And so I knew the whole band, and we would get together, find each other at sessions and so on.
Great. Now, weren't you also friends with Don Cherry also? You guys, I guess, go back a long way. When'd you meet Don Cherry?
At the same time.
Same time? Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of places where you had jazz sessions. It's not like now.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody could go. And so it was these people that went. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that same era, I had a trio, and Scott LaFaro was the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, it was a lot going on. But, I'm still living with my family, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, in the 60s, I was really, I guess you started making a name for yourself. You were working with different people. And I know in the 60s, you hooked up with the great guitarist George Benson. How did that come about?
No, that was in,
The 70s?
I guess it was
60s?
the late 60s. I moved
Yeah.
to New York because
Okay.
I was in Ventura, then Los Angeles. Other friends there were Bobby Hutcherson and Charles Lloyd and
Yeah.
so on. And Herbie Lewis was a bass player that used to play in my group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we moved here. But when we moved here, I was already married with 3 children. And then I had the 4th one when I got here. So let's see. I just worked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just Freddie McCoy was one, but he hired Paul Chambers was on bass. Sometimes I think Kenny Washington. I didn't know that's another job. I'm thinking at a club where we played, but another job was Kenny Washington, who his parents had to come because he wasn't 18. I think it was with Lee Konitz at that time.
Lee Konitz. Okay.
Yeah, there's just a lot of musicians here. I work with Charlie Schaefer's, Sonny Stitt.
And Sonny's great.
Yeah, and then Art Blakey. What happened with that?
Oh, I know that story. I know that story. Yeah, that was beautiful. It was, what was interesting about that, and even before I mention or get into Art Blakey, I wanted to ask you, Joanne, did you get a chance to catch that quartet with Coltrane, McCoy, Elvin? Did you see that band live?
I saw that band in 1963 in California.
Amazing.
Yes, so I knew. And also Miles Davis came, and he had, at that time, I think it was George Coleman and Tony Williams and Ron.
Now
I saw them before I came here, but of course, when I came here, it was really easy. You just jump in a cab, run down and hear them.
Now, I was going to ask you about your influences, because even some of your early work and just footage that I've seen of you and even recordings that I've had, I could tell McCoy Tyner was definitely an influence on you because I can hear it in your playing. Mm-hmm. McCoy, Chick, and other people, but especially McCoy. Was he probably one of your biggest influences during that time period?
No, they were all, I loved Herbie. I loved Keith.
Yeah.
And McCoy and Chick. But before that, my earliest thing was, because I'm in a small city, we don't have much, was Charlie Parker.
Bird. Oh, yeah.
Bud Powell.
Bud Powell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. Jimmy Heath, the late Jimmy Heath, told me that Bud Powell is the most influential pianist in jazz history. He says,
well, he had the most depthful feeling. That was a feeling that I felt. And the other piano players, there were a lot of them great. We had Hampton Hawes, that I used to see all the time. Mm-hmm. Billy Higgins worked with him a lot. Mm-hmm. And Rid Mitchell. And actually, later on in the late 70s, I did a tour, and the bass player couldn't make it. He got sick, and Red Mitchell played some of that tour with me.
Wow.
So I saw him much, much later. Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
connections, because a lot of the people from LA just transferred on.
Right. You also played with one of my favorite trumpeters, Woody Shaw.
Oh, Woody Shaw was great.
Oh, yes, he was.
That was in Art Blakey's band.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes he did some things with Donald Byrd too.
Donald Byrd. Yeah.
Yeah. So we played together there too.
I was going to ask you, Joanne, I love the story that you told, going to see Art Blakey, and you see the piano player sitting there not playing at all. So what gave you that confidence just to
Well,
walk up and say, hey, can I
yeah,
sit in?
it wasn't confidence. It was tired. I lived in 6-stair building. I
Yeah.
have 4 children. One of them is a baby. So the diapers, everything has to go up and down. It's 12 flights if you
Right.
only do it once a day, but you have to buy groceries and yeah. So I was just tired and I knew what I wanted to hear. My boyfriend took me to a jazz club, might have been called Jazz City in Los Angeles. And Art Blakey was there. And I just remembered Johnny Griffin was the horn player. So, so I knew I really liked the band. So when I saw he was there, I said, yeah, I'm going to go tonight. Tired or not, I have to go.
Right.
So when I went in there, I was used to hearing a full band. Everybody had a quintet. And, you know, here was a piano player, solo after solo, he wasn't playing. So I wanted to hear the sound of the piano. So I figured, well, I could still hear the band if I play. So I just went up and asked him if it was okay. And he said, yeah. So
that's amazing. Obviously, there was something about your playing that
well, there
got
was
him.
something about the music that made me want to play always when I heard Art Blakey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't think I'm tired. I'm not thinking about anything. Just I want to hear the whole thing put together and the guy's not playing and something's missing.
Now, when he offered you, I guess, a position in that band, did that mean the other pianist had gotten fired, or did he just leave, or what happened?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. And I didn't know anything. As a matter of fact, I had never listened to any recordings of Art Blakey. If I hear and see something, I really, I know something.
Yeah. Yeah. That takes
So,
us.
and I never even thought to rehearse. I didn't even know the format of the band. We were doing a 3,000 seat concert. I mean, I didn't think anything of it at that time, but now when you look back, you can see things that you didn't see. I didn't know what tunes they were going to play. I didn't know the structure. So after they played about 3 or 4 tunes, they all got up and walked off. And Art Blakey said, and now we're going to feature a solo piano number by our pianist.
Wow, that's incredible.
So I didn't know anything. So that's the first time I really played solo piano and I just played it. But see, I already had the feeling of the music of the band. So it was already there. I don't know how to explain it because you can't explain it when you're teaching people, but it was there. And so that I could play.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. Joanne, working with Art, I guess you were with him for a few years. And I guess what's special about that piano chair has had some great pianists, since the inception of that band, but you were the only female player in that group. That's something that says a lot because Art always had the best,
Well, you know what?
musicians.
He called me his adopted daughter. And I know why, because he could see the way that I thought. And it was very, very similar to the way it was almost as that, if you have children, if they're perceptive to you, that's what it was like. We never even had to have a conversation because I don't know how to say, but that's how it was.
That blows my mind. Wow. So during those, I guess, 2 or 3 years that you worked with him, what did you learn from working with Art, or what did you take from him playing, with a leader like that?
But the same thing that I took when I started playing the solo piano, he got up and left. Yeah, he really knew how to make the band sound in every way. And just a few words, funny little phrases that he would say to the band. He knew just what to say and when to say it. Yeah, he was totally involved in the music, that's all. Yeah. And I was like that too.
Now, after working with Art, you played with other musicians, but you ended up working with one of my favorite saxophonists, the late Joe Henderson. What was it like
Yes,
working with Joe?
Joe was right after Art. So yeah, we became really best friends. That was really out.
Mm.
Um, no, that was too far out.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, because if he was going to call me, I would see his name. And I'm just walking down the street in another city, working on another job that's great, and I would see his name in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to my room. There's a message from him. This is what I don't know what you want to call that.
What a
It
connection.
was out. It was out, and we never talked about it either.
Mm.
We didn't need to because it was both ways.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
So anyway, playing with him was great. You know, you I don't think you would sound very good unless you are the type of person when you're playing, you're open always for the next instant, and instants go very fast. If you're not open, I don't think you could play and sound good, but I don't think you could really enjoy.
Mm.
But we were both that way. So that worked very well.
Yeah. Wow. What an incredible musician. One of my favorites. You also work with Stan Getz as well.
Yes,
What was it like playing with Stan?
I was working with Joe, and Stan would call me every day and say, we have rehearsal tomorrow at 4 or 3 or whatever. And I'd say, Stan, I'm in Chicago. I can't get there.
Right.
He kept calling for about 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, in the middle of our tour, the end of the tour got canceled. So he called again. And he's rehearsals at 3. And I said, oh, okay.
It was meant
That
for you
was
probably
that
to
really
play with him.
happened. It was kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say one of my recordings that I liked that you did right around, I guess, 1975 is 6/8. I love that. With Cecil
That was
McBee.
for my family of 6 were eating 6/8.
That's what that meant. Oh
Yeah.
wow. I
Yeah.
love that recording, Joanne. Yeah. That was incredible. And Cecil McBee, and Cecil has been on the show as well too. But yeah, that was a great recording. That was probably right around the first time I guess I heard you. I started listening to you, and the first time I heard it, I says, "Man, is this McCoy Tyner?" But it says Joanne Brackeen. You know, I could just hear the influence, as I said, coming out with McCoy. But yeah, you did a lot of great things during that time. A lot of good music. You worked with so many artists, and I've also had another musician that you work with, of course, later on, saxophonist Greg Osby. And
Oh yeah, Greg is great. We did, I guess, about two years ago. Yeah, I guess a concert at the Kennedy Center. Yeah.
Great. He's a fantastic musician.
Yeah, we
You've
did
also worked
many. We did many concerts, and some of them duet. And it was just as easy to play with him in a duet as a quartet.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there footage of that on YouTube possibly? Of just the
I
two of
don't
you?
know. We'd have to ask Chantal.
I
She
got
would know.
I got to
Yeah.
check that out.
Sure.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also you work with some of my other favorite musicians, drummer Jack DeJohnette, who's fantastic.
Jack was great. Yeah. Poor Jack. I had all this crazy music. Yeah. There was an album called Keyed In that was a trio with Jack and Eddie. That
Eddie Gomez.
heard, but Chick was responsible for this because he had an album called The Brain. It had Song of the Wind and The Brain on there. And the drummer, I said, ooh, that's the sound that sounds like it would really fit with what, how I play. And so then later when I got an album offer for the album, that's who I got.
Wow.
Actually, I was working a job with Joe Henderson, and Bob James came in and wanted to record Joe. but Joe didn't want it. So he just walked over to me. And I had been planning and rehearsing with Wayne Dockery and Billy Hart.
Mm.
But Wayne Dockery didn't live in town. I think he was Philadelphia or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'd heard Cecil McBee. So Bob came over to me and asked me if I wanted to record. And I said, oh yeah, I know what I want to record. I got the trio. And then I just told him right there.
Yeah.
I already had the album in my head. And it wasn't looking, trying to find something. I just had prepared it. That's all.
Interesting.
So that was how that album came out. There's two of them. One was called Ancient Dynasty, and that had Joe Henderson on it.
Yeah. You also played with another great saxophonist, younger, around my age, is Branford Marsalis.
Branford, yeah. You know who's responsible for that? Is I had called Cecil McBee and Al Foster.
Oh, drummer Al Foster. Okay.
Yeah, and so Al Foster's, he came over to learn some of the tunes because he doesn't read music, so he had to memorize the music. So he wanted to get ahead of it. And he said, well, I don't remember who I had asked to do it, but they couldn't do it. And he says, well, Branford's good. And then I said, well, I know, but I hear that a lot of the things are more in the range of the alto than the tenor. And Al says, oh, don't worry about that. Branford plays alto too. So that was how that he got on Branford. And Terrence
Blanchard.
I think that was Branford's idea, Terrence.
You know, what I like, yeah, I was just going to say what I like a lot, Joanne, is just your background. You know, as a young kid, you play with these giants, and then of course later on in your career, you're working with these young lions, you know, who've gone on and had incredible careers themselves. You know, I wanted to ask you about yourself being an educator. Are you still teaching, or do you teach online right now during COVID?
Well, I'm going to teach online this semester, and then I don't know what happens after that. We'll wait and see. But I'll probably do that for another 2 years or so, and then yeah. But that's been great. I've enjoyed that a lot.
That's something you enjoy doing.
And
now,
one of my students yesterday, Wednesday at 1 o'clock. You know what that meant. But he had a concert in Israel, which was at 8 o'clock, but so our time it was 1 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
He had a competition. It was Herbie Hancock was in charge. And I can't remember everybody, but there was 7 judges anyway, judging the Thelonious Monk competition. And so it was my student, but I'm one of the judges. Anyway, he won first place.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So they gave him a recording date with Concord Records, and he's done that. And the album sounds good, but it's nothing compared to what he's doing now.
Right.
Having recorded it and playing. So he's playing that, and I'm watching on the TV when I got to Arizona.
Yeah.
And I've got this music on.
Yeah.
Music he's playing now is really, it sounds like our lessons. You know, it sounds like he got it. He's got the idea now. He can run with it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, his name is Tom Oren. Yeah, he's from Israel.
Israel, okay.
And he had, what's his name? E.G. He played with Miles Davis. I can't remember how to say his name.
The pianist?
No, the saxophone. Ellie DiBriano, something like that.
Oh gosh, I'm drawing blank right now. Was this back in the 50s or 60s?
No, this is the 2015, 2000. This is now. I guess you missed him. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I missed him.
Yeah, he's one of Herbie's horn players. And
Okay.
that was a good friend of Tom, so he also played on the second set.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Good,
that
good.
was fun.
Yeah. I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you, in 2018, you received the NEA Jazz Masters. I was at that event. I believe it was with Pat Matheny and Todd Barkin, who's about 20 minutes from me, Keystone Corner in Baltimore. He owns
Oh,
that
wow.
jazz club. And yeah, that was great. It was so good.
It was
I mean, what
great
was it
for
like?
me because he had the Keystone, and I worked there quite a few times.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's played it. But what was that like for you to receive that, Joanne?
I'm sorry?
What was it like for you to receive that award?
Well, I thought it was quite unusual because they didn't have any women piano players on there that were would just played what they wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
Or what, maybe they did play what they wanted to play, but it wasn't really, I don't know. I don't know what you call when people sound like a lot of other people. They're still playing really well, or if you just don't listen that much and you just play. Anyway, inventive. So the only the woman on there that had done music like that got one was Carla Bley.
Yeah.
With a big band. She wrote music like that too. I mean, she wasn't trying to, that was her music. And so I thought they would never want me. They're going to want somebody that's more conventional, because that was the pick. Women were all singers.
Yeah.
So that was why I was very surprised, but of course happy.
Oh, I was so happy to
Yeah,
see you
because
get that.
all my old type friends that I'd been, Charlie Hayden, Billy Higgins, all the people that had gotten it were people that I had played with and knew really well.
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever get an opportunity to play with Lee Morgan, the late trumpeter Lee Morgan?
No, I saw him often at Slugs though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of slugs, oh boy, you caught that documentary. I Called Him Morgan. That was something else. Did you ever see that?
No, I didn't see the documentary,
Oh,
but saw a documentary of him by watching him play and listening to him too. Yeah, he was great.
that's incredible. Now,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Joanne, what does Joanne Brackeen like to listen to when she's at home? If you're just relaxing, taking it easy, maybe
I
having a
like to
glass of.
listen. I like to listen to the silence from where the music comes from.
Ah.
Yeah, there's vibrations, and you can feel them in your body.
Hmm.
And that's how I play. Many times I go up, and I already know this now in advance. So if I feel it, I put the tape recorder on, because when I start playing something, I can't even repeat it. So I have to write it down and practice it. But it does stuff, it comes. So that's what I do.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So that's how Joanne Brackeen listens. That's where she gets her inspiration from.
That's how I play. It's from where we come from.
Yeah.
It's like it's from humanity and combined with a nature. Yeah. Human nature and animal nature and heaven nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, that's interesting. That's deep. That's really,
Well,
really.
and the people that played like that, one of them was Bud Powell. So
Man,
yeah.
he was amazing. It's funny. Miles Davis just talked about it. He said Bud was the best pianist of his generation, and they said if you listen to, like you mentioned, Charlie Parker, he said that's Bud on the piano, and every pianist, whether they realize it or not, have been influenced by Bud. McCoy Tyner, Herbie, they've all said, yeah, Bud Powell. He was incredible. It was interesting. Speaking of pianists, Alfred Lyon at Blue Note Records talked about, 3 pianists that really knocked him out. One of them, of course, was Monk. Everybody loves Thelonious Monk.
Monk is amazing.
Yeah. The other one was Herbie Nichols, who was great. You don't hear his name that much anymore, Herbie Nichols. And the other one was the great Andrew Hill, who's a genius also, as far as his compositions, the way that he writes. But you seem to be in that same class too, Joanne. The way that you play and
well,
your own separate
the way that Monk plays, I just first heard him with Billy Higgins were riding around 17, the first thing I thought, he plays the earth. He's playing the earth and the heaven and the earth. And everybody, even Bud, I don't hear him playing the earth. He's playing human being. But Monk played both. And Monk could play just like Bud.
Love Bud too.
Yeah. But Monk chose that. So it's exciting.
Did you get a chance to catch Monk a lot back in the day?
Oh, yeah. Here in New York. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He was at the Vanguard. That's where I heard him.
I heard of legendary those shows that they would do. I guess down at the Hop 5 spot or whatever with he and Coltrane. People said if you got a chance to catch them when they played together for like that 6-month period, it was incredible. You know?
I didn't live here yet, so we didn't have things like that.
No.
We had a little in Los Angeles. We had the cool jazz, but
okay.
that was good too. But,
now, is there anyone, Joanne, throughout your illustrious career that you've wanted to play with that you never got a chance to work with? Someone that you says, "Oh gosh, I'd love to play with him or her," and that you just never got the opportunity?
Well, I think I played with all of them, but it would have been nice to record some with more of them.
Yeah. You know, as far as like gigs, you never got a chance to play with Miles or anyone like that, did you?
No, I didn't play with Miles, but Dizzy, because Dizzy played with Stan. He came and sat and played with Stan.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's great.
And somebody told me, I think I sat in with Dizzy. Charlie Hayden talks about the time I played with Dizzy. So, you know, there were so many things going on. You know, there'd be these festivals and things. And so you're running and you're staying up all night. And I don't remember everything. Right. But I know if Charlie Hayden said I did it, I did. And he made fun because I didn't know the tune. And he knew. I said, what am I going to do? And I just played then. Just played. I didn't know.
Now, Joanne, I was going to ask you, what's next for you? Of course, you know, during this COVID, a lot of people, of course.
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's look at what didn't happen, because that may happen again in Thailand. I was supposed to go to Thailand, and I was supposed to go to London, and I was supposed to go to Detroit. And then I had 2 performances at Lincoln Center. So let's hope that can come again. But we really, you know, what's going to happen in the future as far as actual things happening, I don't know. What's left. The Jazz Standard now is closed.
True.
So, I haven't worked there in about 10 years anyway, but it was a great club. I like to go. Whatever. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I've always been fascinated by is your eccentric taste in clothes. You have a unique way of dressing. And when I see you in the photos, I says, man, she's got her own style. And I really like it too. Is that something that have you always been like that? Or is that?
Yeah. My sister and I, we used to make our clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We used to be able to go in stores and buy patterns. So, I mean, we weren't poor or anything, but the family didn't have money for all of that. So we would go buy patterns and pick out our material and make them. So we got to what we saw that we really liked, that we couldn't buy, we could make. Wow. So we used to do that. Yeah.
Have you ever been involved or done anything with film, like any film scores or composed for film before?
Only once. One guy was going to do some kind of a film, and I wrote a tune. Let's see. I can't even remember the name of it. It's pretty though. And I wouldn't have written it without watching the film. And they paid me for it, but it didn't turn out to be part of the movie. They got someone else. This was in the very early days of computers.
Oh, wow.
And so they found somebody that could compute, you know, just do the whole thing. So they weren't so concerned about the value of the music as just that it was appropriate for the film.
Yeah. Interesting.
I can't remember what I called it. Mist on a Rainbow.
Okay.
I have a tune called that. So I probably recorded it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for being on Jazz Talk today. It's been a pleasure. You're a class act. Love you. Love your music. And hopefully after COVID is over, you can get to Baltimore and come to Keystone Corner so I can see you perform live.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'll talk to Todd because he knows me. So he's had, Ron Carter, a lot of Greg Osby, of course, has been there. He had Roy Haynes, the
I
late
know
Jimmy.
they asked me to go there, but it was in the pandemic, and
Oh, okay.
no, I've been asked a couple of times.
Wow.
Steve Kirby wanted me to play with his group because
Mhm.
he had worked with my group before,
Mhm.
and he's the only bass. I have this tune called Double Dip.
Mhm.
It's all 16th notes, and the whole thing is based on that. And he played the whole thing. I never had no other bass player ever did that. I guess more than likely Eddie Gomez could do that, but very, very few.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The way that you play, I would have loved to have for you to have played with bassist Jaco Pastorius.
We did.
What?
We
Are you
did.
you played
Yeah,
with Jaco?
he came down. Yeah, he came down to one thing. I think Evo Perlman was who I
Yeah.
was playing with, and he came and played there. And then I was working at Bradley's, and he came and played a lot there.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's
yeah, it
incredible.
was incredible. But he was like a drummer, a bass player, a
Yeah,
piano player. This guy, all the ideas were great,
yeah, he was brilliant. Yeah,
amazing. Just too bad he blew
I
it.
know what happened to him. I mean, when he first hit the scene in the 70s, with the harmonics and stuff that he was doing on the bass, it was like revolutionary. And bass players were like, wow, this guy's unbelievable. And also a
But
great
he could do the
composer.
same thing on the drums.
Really?
Yes, he played the drums on his bass, on the wood part of his bass. Yeah, I was like, yeah. He used to. I lived on 17th and 6th before here, and I used to see him. Yeah, he was around.
Wow. Also, another person I would love for you to work with is the great guitarist Pat Matheny. You guys could do something together.
Well, we talked about it, but it
Really?
was short-lived. I love his wife dresses like in a style,
Yeah,
not exactly like me, but we both have a style.
yeah.
So that I looked at her, I was, ooh, I love what you've got. He's like, yeah. And they live uptown, but wow, it seems like time flies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
again for being on the show. As I said, you're a class act, and it's just such a pleasure to talk to you. Hang on, I'm about to close out the show. Well, you've heard it from the great Joanne Brackeen. And as the saying goes, if the music grooves and makes you move, it must be jazz. I'm Preston Williams with Jazz Talk signing off. Peace.
Thank you, Preston.